Welcome back, everyone. This is the Gridiron Review, and this is our 2023-2024 NFL season bold predictions slash hot takes. Some of these are going to be scorching, and some may be feeling like more common sense than anything. But we're going to start off with the AFC North and the Baltimore Ravens.
For the Ravens, we have our hot take as under new OC Todd Monken, Lamar reaches full potential and establishes himself as league's scariest player. We know that Lamar already had an MVP season. This is not us saying that Lamar is going to be in the MVP conversation. This is us saying with a creative offense and Greg Roman out, Lamar is going to reach a height of quarterback play that we haven't seen before. It's going to be Michael Vick on drugs and without the dog fights. Todd Monken is given a ton of credit, not by just Georgia themselves, but by Stetson Bennett for getting him to understand the game of football better. Anyone who watched college football, Monken is basic, but at the same time, he's got creative stuff up his sleeve. He had quarterback designed runs for Bennett, who is nowhere near the athlete that Lamar is.
Yeah, and with Lamar and what the Ravens have had, basic is better than what Roman ran. So I agree. I think we're not saying that Lamar is going to become the best quarterback in football. That's Mahomes' spot to lose, and we don't see it happening. But we're saying that Lamar is going to have, like Jack said, a play slash season slash couple of years like we've never seen when you combine his athleticism with his arm talent. For Pittsburgh, it's kind of a couple of them mashed together. They're going to have a very up and down season. The first one, and we're sure most Pittsburgh fans will say that this should be done already, is that Matt Canada is going to get fired in the first half of the season. That offense is going to be awful as far as creativity, and we don't see much happening besides George Pickens flashing all-pro potential. Yet at the same time, we don't see Kenny Pickett taking a big step forward. We still think he's going to be average. Now, that being said, average is not a bad thing, and he could still have Pittsburgh continue their winning streak season, or their winning season streak, rather. But we don't see Pickett flashing type of all-pro, Pro Bowl potential.
Yeah, since Pickens entered the league, he's made multiple highlight reel catches. With a competent offensive coordinator, there's no saying what he's capable of. And Pittsburgh fans need to remember that, yes, we're sitting here saying that Pickett could continue to be average, but you also need to remember that Ben Roethlisberger played 3 seasons longer than he should have. Pickett can't be any worse than the last 3 years of Roethlisberger.
Yeah, being average for the Steelers with their defense and with their offensive skill position players still could get them to the playoffs, although the AFC North is going to be a bloodbath. However, I personally don't see Pickett as a Super Bowl quarterback. I think he's going to be stable. He's going to be safe until Pittsburgh decides that they are tired of going with safe. With Cincinnati, we're talking about a very specific player, and that's Dax Hill. We see him becoming one of the better safeties in the league this year and helping to cushion the blow of Cincinnati losing their 2 starting Pro Bowl / All-Pro safeties.
Yeah, Cincinnati is returning 9 starters from the defense, including cornerback 1, Uzi. But like Zach said, this is about Hill. Hill was a prospect that we loved coming out last year. Little disappointed that he won't be playing nickel, but with the speed that he has in the playmaking, we really don't think that maybe at first it will, but by the end of the season won't be a far drop off from Bates to Hill. The Bell spot too, if we're just talking about safety tandem who were both lost, between Battle and Nick Scott, there's a 3-man rotation there that's going to find them a way to stay stable.
Yeah. For Cleveland, for the record, we've had this written up before the Hall of Fame game, but July 29th. And anyone that's checked out our channel before, if you want to, Dorian Thompson-Robinson was one of our favorite quarterbacks, our biggest sleeper quarterback, and in our top 5 this year. And our prediction is that Deshaun Watson will continue his struggles from last year, maybe not quite as bad, but one way or another, we see DTR getting playing time this season. Now, this is a hot prediction for a reason. And this is one of the more bold ones we have, but DTR is a starting quarterback in the NFL, and it is shocking that he fell as far as he did, but Cleveland's going to benefit from it.
My brother and I were having this conversation the other day, is like Watson, before all of the chaos that incurred, was arguably a top 5 quarterback. This is not saying that he doesn't have the ability to pick it back up, but the last person we saw in that long of a stretch without playing was Le'Veon Bell, and he never came back the same. Watson is in a position where he has to succeed, not just because it's Cleveland, but because of the money he got paid and the pressure on top of not really playing a full season in almost 2 years would bring him down a little bit.
And it's also worth mentioning that we've said from the get-go that we think Dorian Thompson-Robinson's going to command the locker room in a way that Watson just won't. Regardless of how he plays, there's got to be a decent amount on the Cleveland team that can barely even look at him. Regardless of how you feel about the situation, whether you think stuff happened or not, it's a lot of cases for nothing to have happened, but we don't see him just being the locker room leader. And moving on to the AFC East with the Jets, this is a two-parter. The first one's not hot considering the rumors, but Dalvin Cook does get signed. This is something that's been rumored for a while. Yeah, it hasn't happened, curiously enough. The hot part is that Breece Hall requests a trade. With the way the running back market has been, with how running backs are the ones that seem to be in the news a lot position-wise recently, Breece Hall's not going to want to play second fiddle, nor does Dalvin Cook sign to be a change of pace back, in our opinion. So, yeah, Breece Hall is going to request a trade.
The first time we heard the Cook rumor, we kind of thought it was insane, and we still do. I mean, you're talking about a room with Hall. We know he's coming off injury, but also Bam Knight and Carter and drafting Izzy Abanikanda in the 5th. If you add Cook, Breece Hall is going to see that, like, either there's not confidence in him or something is going on. It's probably Rodgers' wish list, and he's going to become a bit unhappy with the current situation.
Definitely. For New England, we have Ramondre Stevenson breaking out, something that a lot of people are predicting. However, he establishes himself as one of the lead backs, yet something funny happens because of Belichick. Whether he gets traded, whether they bring in another guy next year, this is kind of like a this year and beyond prediction. Knowing the New England history, Stevenson, there's going to be something funny that happens.
Yeah, just kind of building off that, one of the conversations we've had over text recently was when Sony Michel retired. And one of the things I said to Zach was like, NFL Michel will never do justice to Georgia Michel. And like the truth is, being released by New England, he was a almost 2-time 1,000-yard rusher, and New England dropped him like a bad habit. Like Stevenson could very much break out and get 1,000 rushing, 500 receiving, and Bill's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, Belichick seems to not want to run the main back anymore. It's a lot of committee. They add a lot of guys. They brought in Fournette and Elliott because why not? And it's a shame, but Stevenson, we do think, breaks out efficiency-wise, maybe statistically, even though New England's not known to give workhorse carries and downs to backs anymore. But, yeah, definitely Ramondre is one of the top young backs. Maybe he's traded to someone midseason because New England's on the outside looking in this division. For Buffalo, we have them finally getting over the hump, beating both the Chiefs and the Bengals in the playoffs. Obviously, a lot needs to fall right for this to happen, but they're bold for a reason.
Yeah, the basis for this one was their first-round pick this year in Dalton Kincaid. We think the offensive identity is going to change, and that's going to get them over the hump.
Yeah, it feels like I know a lot of people, like Josh Allen is now like a favorite to be given critique and blame, but at the same time, he's basically that whole offense. So it'd be nice if he gets more help besides Stephon Diggs, because Gabe Davis has had varying degrees of success as a wide receiver too. But reality is that he's going to be the 3 this year, and Kincaid is likely the 2. We know tight ends don't usually start off hot, but Kincaid was drafted as a wide receiver, a big slot more than anything. With the Miami Dolphins, we have Elijah Higgins earning the starting job outright as a rookie and flashing the ability to be one of the league's next best receiving tight ends. His blocking is probably going to become a little bit longer since he's a converted receiver, but San Fran, the McDaniel system that he comes from, features a tight end. And yes, Gesicki didn't have the success that everyone thought, but there's not really too many bodies there now that's going to get in the way of Higgins, who they handpicked and immediately started the conversion to tight end.
Yeah, the only thing to add is like Durham Smythe is their tight end 1 right now. Like anybody could walk in there and take that job.
Yeah, and there's going to be a blocking specialist, whether that's Smythe or not is yet to be seen, but Higgins is going to be the pass catcher tight end. And the AFC South, we have for the Jaguars, Ventrell Miller is the starter next to Foyesade Oluokun by the end of the season. Both Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma statistically may have looked like they did decent, but their efficiency, their coverage ratings, none of it is very good. And as Jack has noted to me before, Devin Lloyd's playing time decreased pretty strongly towards the end of the season.
Yeah, Lloyd and Muma were two that we weren't as high on last year, and the lack of or the playing time taken away kind of shows it. And Miller was a day two pick. You don't take a day one and a day two pick last year to take a day two pick this year. There's something deeper going on, whether it's their inability to understand the defense or actually get the job done. Miller is one that uh, his season kind of suffered due to injury, and if he can get healthy within the first couple of weeks, there's no saying that he's going to be held out for the rest of the season. Like if they really struggle, he's going in.
For the Titans, we have Ryan Tannehill getting benched, and I saw something earlier today that was predicting part of their hot take was Tannehill getting traded, which I could definitely see because I see the Titans season kind of falling apart. But the hot part is that it's Malik Willis who is the one that's going to be the future of the franchise and not Will Levis. We're not Levis fans, never have been. Again, you can check our content over YouTube and on our website. We viewed him as a day two quarterback at best and never had him as a first round prospect. And Willis was always a project. It's mind blowing to me that people are ready to give up on him. Like he was an early round pick that just flamed out because the Titans didn't play him. They just assumed he was a goner, but he was always a project. His throwing motion needed a lot of fixing, and it's apparently worked out so far in his year two. And the news is very good. And we feel like he breaks out, takes over, and ends up as the future of the franchise for Tennessee.
One of our big talk points since the beginning of the offseason was that Vrabel must have dirt on somebody in the front office because most coaches don't get the opportunity to rip down their entire franchise. And he's done that. He purged the roster to begin the offseason with not a whole ton of progress in rebuilding this year. If Malik Willis breaks out the way that we think he will when Tannehill inevitably gets hurt or benched, Vrabel saves his job just by giving Willis a chance from last year's draft.
Yeah, we don't see Vrabel getting fired. If he wants, I believe that they'll give him the keys to the rebuild. I think he's succeeded beyond what the skill of the team has been. So I agree with that. For the Houston Texans, we have them competing for the AFC South under the first year of DeMeco Ryans. Stroud has a great season as a rookie, better season than Bryce Young. And in general, we think Houston takes a much bigger step forward than people expect.
Houston is in a weird spot where you look at their defense and it's pretty well put together. The receiving group doesn't have an alpha as of yet, but they have enough guys to run a really strong committee. And although I was kind of a believer in keep Mills until Caleb Williams comes out, Stroud could very well be the answer to a team that stood toe-to-toe with the Chiefs till the fourth quarter. He could have won that game if he was there. Like Mills could be the whole reason that they weren't a winning football team last year.
Yeah, and they've done a nice job, like you said. They don't have an alpha, but they have a lot of good B's and C's at receiver. Mechie, Collins, Bobby Trees, Tank Dell. A lot of those guys that if they don't have an alpha, at least you have three guys who are actually threats to catch the ball, and Dalton Schultz at tight end. With the AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs, they have multiple of their 2022 defensive backs that they drafted, like Joshua Williams and Brian Cook. Not these guys necessarily, but we think multiple of them break out because there's a lot to choose from. And that the Chiefs defense becomes one of the league's best to match a top offense.
Yeah, so when we wrote this, the two names that actually came to mind were McDuffie and Carl Loftus. If those two are able to break out and they are able to become one of the league's best defenses while they're still on rookie deals, the league is in trouble for a very long time.
Yeah, because they already have a great young linebacker core. All of their starters are on rookie deals besides Tranquil, who
and their backups.
Yeah, and the backups. Most of their secondary, if not all their secondaries, on rookie deals. And the offense is on rookie deals as well. I mean, obviously Mahomes, but Edwards-Helaire, whether he's cut or not, Pacheco, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice. Like this team is not looking into cap trouble too much in the future. For the Raiders, regardless of what happens with Jacobs, who it seems to be the only running back that has just had no progress, and I just realized I skipped the Colts, so we'll come back to that. Zamir White finishes as the running back 1 and gets 1,000 yards. Are we talking all-purpose or rush?
Rush. Yeah, we've been saying this since last year. White sitting his rookie year for the sake of health and long term was probably the best move for him, especially considering he has a history of knee problems. But McDaniels came in his first year and drafted a running back. There's a reason that Josh Jacobs right now is not making a ton of progress. We think McDaniels has his guy and is going to make Jacobs budge before he does.
Definitely agree there. Circling back to the Colts, if Jonathan Taylor sits out all season, or we have him sitting out all season if he doesn't get traded. Now, there already is news breaking that he was supposed to be at camp, but not due to nursing his ankle/foot injury. Either way, if he sits out, if he misses time, we don't see the offense struggling with Anthony Richardson leading the rushing game. And a Shane Steichen offense coming from Philly that prides itself on a committee. And we think the ramifications of this is going to highlight the damage to the running back market. That if Taylor sits out, if he gets traded and the Colts rushing offense continues to at least be decent, that there's going to be not many teams that are going to insist on a bell cow back, and that committee is going to be the way to go.
Well, to build on the running back portion of it too, is they just signed Kenyon Drake, who his whole career can't seem to stick anywhere, but wherever he goes seems to produce well. If JT sits out and Drake runs for even 800-900 yards, that screws up the entire market.
Yeah, or even like another name is Evan Hall. I mean, this man is a workhorse. He is a hard-nosed player. He gives all of his effort. He's not super flashy, but he can catch the football as well. And he's a day 3 running back. So if him and Drake split and combine for 1,500 all-purpose yards between the two of them, that does as well further damages. Someone that they added last minute. And I think, in general, the running back market, we're going to be coming out with a video about that and our solution, but we think that the Colts and Jonathan Taylor loses this situation, in our opinion. Going back to the AFC West with the Chargers, we have their roster finally staying healthy and becoming a legitimate Super Bowl contender. However, a caveat to this is I personally think Staley cost them another playoff game, and they fire him 2 seasons later than it should have.
Yeah, so for us, this was kind of a two-parter because, when you look at their roster on paper, the injuries have decimated them, but Staley has now made bonehead moves in 2 straight seasons. With the re-signing of Herbert and the contract that he got, Staley is going to be on a short leash. So God forbid this roster stay healthy. He really has to monitor what he's doing at every moment, or he could be out before the season's even over.
Yep. With Denver, we have Sean Payton and his new staff turning the team around to year 1, despite the drama with the Jets. Who knows what that was about? That's such a weird situation. But that being said, we don't see Russ improving a ton and showing that he actually was one of the major problems next to Hackett. And Denver is in the quarterback market again next year with a huge cap hit with Russ.
Yeah, trying to trade him is not going to be a fun situation for anybody, especially Sean Payton, who has retired once. His clock is ticking.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning we had Denver drafting Stetson Bennett or Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and they declined to do either. So we think that they're going to really wish they had. In a year where a lot of quarterbacks fell, their backup is Jarrett Stidham, I believe.
I believe so, yes.
And he's okay, I guess. I don't know, but they're going to be in the quarterback market again next year. Flipping over to the NFC, we're going to start with the North. The Detroit Lions, after years of sitting, Denzel Mims break out in Jameson Williams' absence as long as he recovers from his injury that he just had. And we think that Mims has been outcast with the Jets and that this is the perfect situation for him to finally gain some traction.
So the first thought for this one was that the Lions finally make the playoffs again, but that doesn't seem like a hot take anymore with the way Dan Campbell is steering the ship. Mims is a guy that's flat, is one of those preseason stars, but when you watch what he does, it definitely seems like it would translate to the regular season, and Jamo's absence is the perfect opportunity for him.
Yeah, and one thing you can mention is he's very similar, at least physically, to DJ Chark, so he could fill that role and miss as much time. Who knows? For Green Bay, we have Jordan Love having a Pro Bowl season and leads the Packers to a better record than anyone was predicting. Now, the Jordan Love is definitely catching on. He's starting to get more and more momentum, at least from what I've seen. But we're officially calling it that he is a Pro Bowl this year, and that the Packers are maybe not in the playoffs, but in the wild card hunt when people expect them to have a horrible year.
Within the last couple months, the amount of videos that we've seen on TikTok of people saying that the Packers are going to be just as bad as the Cardinals, like even
Oh,
if
well, they
Love isn't what he's supposed to live up to, they cannot possibly be as bad as the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals are going to be the worst team unless the Titans season completely falls apart. And the Packers aren't that bad. Their defense is a good on at least on paper. Their offense, I think, still lacks an alpha. I don't think Jaden Reed or Christian Watson or Romeo Dubes is that guy. But again, much like the Texans, they have a lot of good number twos that should help patch the wound of not having Devontae Adams still. For the Chicago Bears, we have Roschon Johnson taking over the backfield and becoming an every down back. We really loved him as a prospect, and we were upset that he fell to the fourth, but the landing spot couldn't have been better in our opinion. He gets paired with a rushing quarterback that teams have to keep an eye on that should open up the running lanes. And he should be the lead back for a Chicago team that just seems to be doing all the right things right now.
Yeah, Roschon, we felt was a back that could have started literally anywhere else. Being able to put a productive Roschon with a Justin Fields, who Nick Bosa called the best running quarterback he's ever seen on the NFL Top 100 list, should make Fields' life a lot easier throwing the football. Although if anyone saw their water balloon video, it is interesting to note he was the only one to miss.
Yeah, and we'll see if Fields is the guy this year, and he should be, like I said, getting a lot of help from Roschon. With the Minnesota Vikings, we have Alexander Madison and our pick for the number 2 back to step up, Ty Chandler, creating one of the league's better running back duos and producing better than Dalvin Cook has in recent.
Yeah, so this one kind of goes hand in hand with the Colts. This is another one where if Madison really steps up and Ty Chandler proves to be an efficient too, the running back market is going to absolutely flatten itself.
It's going to be, at least this is our opinion, that the committee backfield is going to be the way to go. For the NFC East, with the New York Giants, we have Azeez Ojulari finally staying healthy after years of injuries and flashing brilliance, and he's going to end up between 50 and 27.
Despite our non-love for his rushing mate, Kayvon Thibodeau, it does seem like he's going to draw more of the doubles. All Azeez has to do is stay healthy. His flashes are going to build up to something. It's more just a matter of when.
Right. For Dallas, we have Dak Prescott fulfilling his promise of not throwing 15 interceptions and instead throws 20 or more. And eventually gets benched at least once for Cooper Rush. Look, Dak is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in football. He's not terrible, but he is not great by any means, and he's been trending in the wrong direction. It's not like he's been progressively getting better with his turnovers. And we think Jerry Jones, another team that should have drafted a quarterback this year that didn't. And we think he's going to get tired of it, and he's going to kind of force McCarthy to make a move.
So I'm going to circle back to the Prescott thing. This is all relevant. Jerry Jones has basically come out and said that he's not worried about Zach Martin, that he needs money to pay Micah Parsons, which, you know, that's kind of saying that you value your youth over your veterans, despite Zach Martin literally being a first-team All-Pro last year. If Dak Prescott struggles again and looks the way he looks in camp right now, Cooper Rush is going to take over for at least the back half of the season. When Dak was out last year, Rush was, one loss in 6 or 7 games, I think.
Yeah, I forget exactly what it was.
He operated it well. The weapons are around him. They're going to plug and play a new quarterback, especially with Dak looking for a new one.
For the Washington Commanders, we have Terry McLaurin receiving his dues and getting an all-pro season with first-year starter Sam Howell, who at the same time establishes himself as one of the better young quarterbacks in the NFL.
We've said it multiple times, but just look back at our stuff. Howell is a quarterback we've been extremely high on since the Senior Bowl. McLaurin has had to deal with Cleveland type numbers of quarterbacks, none of which have been able to get him the ball the way that they should be able to. On NFL Network, he's got nothing but good things to say about Howell, even when he makes mistakes. He says that he's always looking to improve. He's always watching tape. McLaurin is primed if Howell is even half the quarterback that the other guys were.
Definitely agree. For the NFC South with the Atlanta Falcons, we have Arthur Smith getting fired pretty early in the season, but at least before the season is over. We have as well Bijan playing very good, but the offense not taking a step forward and showing that the pick was not worth it.
Yeah, Arthur Smith is literally just trying to rebuild Tennessee and Atlanta, and it's not going to work. It didn't. Well, Tennessee had success. They made it to the playoffs. They never made it to the big game, and it just feels like, despite how open the NFC is, it's going to fail again.
Yeah, the Tennessee system is a good one for getting to the playoffs, like Jack said, but you're just not, in our opinion, going to ever be a serious contender because Atlanta doesn't have the defense that Tennessee did either. And I don't think Atlanta in general is in a place to succeed, and I don't think Arthur Smith is really great at what he's doing. For Tampa, this one's probably going to get the most reactions, but we say that Baker breaks out finally since his rookie year now that he's in a true spread system with some of the better weapons he's ever had. Now, we know in the depth chart it said Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, whatever the heck that means, but it is our opinion that Baker's going to be the starter.
I can't remember who on their TV show said this, but when Baker was starting to struggle in Cleveland, one of the big TV personalities talked about how you can't take a spread quarterback in college and throw him into a power I offense. You're not going to get the same success. The Panthers kind of ish were spread, but the Bucs with the weapons that they have and even the backfield that they have are built to be a spread team. And could be the year that he finally finally breaks out and shows that he was just in the wrong scheme all these years.
For Carolina, with new head coach Frank Reich, Laviska Shenault finally puts it all together and has a Deebo Samuel type role for the Carolina Panthers.
Shenault, I just watched a video like yesterday, apparently has like some of the most missed tackles, forced missed tackles in the last 2 years or something. With Bryce Young not truly having an alpha at the moment, Wright could very well lean on Sanders, who they just signed to relatively big money for running backs, and short game to at least get Bryce Young going at first. Shenault is going to be perfect for that.
Yeah, we have Shenault, like I said, occupying a Deebo role where he plays out of the backfield. It'll be interesting to see how Bryce Young does, but Shenault should be a decent part of that offense. For the Saints, we have Derek Carr getting some MVP consideration and proves just how bad the Raiders are from top to bottom and how they should just start over with everything new.
Yeah, Carr is in a situation right now semi-ish similar to Vegas in their offense in regards to strong running game once Kamara gets back and a strong route runner in Chris Olave. Over the next 4 years, expect Olave and Carr to become one of the better quarterback wide receiver tandems, and for Josh McDaniels to be fired for the strict basis that Carr is in MVP consideration in New Orleans.
And the Raiders are stuck with Jimmy G. For the NFC West, the Rams, we have Cooper Kupp staying healthy in season. We know he got hurt in the preseason already. And becomes the first wide receiver to finish the season with 2,000 yards. Look, last year before he got hurt, he was on an insane pace, even better than his prior record-breaking season. And the Rams had a lot of unproven beyond Kupp. And he's proven as well that he is uncoverable even when he's the only one focusing on. Just look at the game versus the Bengals when they won the Super Bowl. Everyone knew who the ball was going to, and it didn't matter. So, yeah, we see Kupp staying healthy in season and finishing with 2,000 yards.
We do not expect the Rams to be awfully good. So if they even think down 1 or 2 touchdowns that they can come back, everyone knows where the ball is going. There's not a lot else otherwise going on in that offense.
Right. And if Stetson Bennett are to take over due to injury with Stafford or they move Stafford, there's nothing like leaning on one of the better wide receivers in football for a rookie quarterback. For the Arizona Cardinals, we have Clayton Tune having a Brock Purdy type season where he takes over at some point midway and looks pretty good. I don't think the Cardinals have a win this season, maybe one lucky one, but Tune's going to show enough that they're going to be in some serious thought and consideration with what they're going to do with their picks.
Yeah, Gannon is going to be put in a spot where you can give Tune another chance. You can go after Williams, trade Murray. Young head coaches can't be put in that situation. They always make the wrong decision. Tune is going to put this franchise into such a very awkward position.
Right. For the 49ers, we have Colin Farrell breaking out finally and showing why he was taken 4th overall. If there's ever a team that can develop a defensive lineman, it is San Francisco.
Yeah, this was Farrell, but we also think that it could be Kinlaw or Marlon Davidson or Taco Charlton. Take your pick of former first rounder that didn't work out.
And then finally, for the Seattle Seahawks, we have them making a deep playoff run led by their defense that reminds fans of the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, the Seahawks secondary in particular, we know Woolen is out right now, but they just drafted Devin Witherspoon. So even if Woolen is out for a little bit, him and cornerback 2 from last year, Mike Jackson, and then they got 3 startable safeties, Julian Love, Quandre Diggs, and Jamal Adams whenever he decides to be healthy. Bobby Wagner is back. They've built up the front of edge rushers and just movable pieces. This really feels like maybe not the caliber of team, but the same kind of build and style that Pete Carroll likes.
Yeah, and in a weak NFC in general, their defense should be one of the better. That concludes our hot takes episode. Let us know what you think in the comments. What are your hot takes? And give us a like, subscribe, follow. Thanks.